Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hello world. Welcome back to episode 2 of our podcast, going off of an amazing first episode with Shayla. And here we have as an amazing founder in Ankit. So Ankit, welcome. Ankit is the founder of Full Circle, and today what he's focused on is building the next Discord for mental health support seeking Gen Zs. He did his bachelor's in mechanical engineering and master's in aerospace engineering from IIT Madras. And he actually co-headed the only team shortlisted in Asia out of, I think, 1,500 to present the Hyperloop pod to Elon Musk at the finals of the SpaceX Hyperloop pod competition. So that's that's crazy. That's an amazing feat. And a fun fact from Ankit, he's never worked on things that he's studied, which is the story of my life as well. So Ankit, warm welcome into our podcast. It's amazing to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Akshat, to have me over here. I'm pretty much excited of what's going ahead.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. I mean, the Hyperloop competition. We'd love to know more about that. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, so that has been an amazing journey, and I would say a turning point in my life as well. Like, while I was at IIT Madras and doing my master's in aerospace engineering. So the way it all started was like it just started with a team of, I don't know, like 3 people, and then expanded to a team of 28 members over a span of 2 years. And it's just that like a friend of mine started this initiative, and he's like, hey, like we got to work on this cool technology, and like Hyperloop is the next big thing, and like who doesn't know Elon Musk, and like
Right.
and who doesn't want to meet him, right? And this was, I guess, our only window to achieve what we wanted to achieve, like go to SpaceX,
Yeah.
build, work on a deep tech startup, or a deep tech technology that is going to revolutionize the future of transportation, and at the same time, like gain some fame in
Yeah.
IIT Madras, which is like a toughest part because everyone around you is a scholar and have been doing
Yeah.
into some crazy shit all around, so you
Yeah.
need to make a place for yourself in that as well. So yeah.
Right. And we were talking about it too, right? Like I saw you
Yeah.
guys in the news. Like it was big news when that happened. So it's a privilege to be here, interviewing you on this podcast and learning more. So I want to know more. So what was it like once? I guess you were in the finals. Like, what was it like? Coming to the States and presenting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was not an easy journey for us. Like, it took us around 1.5 years just to reach at that point, because the Hyperloop competition is an year-round competition. So it's like in our first attempt we could not make it, but we never gave up. So in our second attempt at the competition, we eventually made it. And like being a team from India and traveling all the way to the US was definitely, I would say, a tough choice to do, because like we have this whole heavy pod that we need to disassemble
Yeah.
and then ship it to the US and then kind of assemble it again. So that was like one heck of a job that the team had to work upon. And another thing, I mean, there were issues that we encountered that eventually as engineers or as students you really don't have to, like there were like custom issues, and then how to make sure that all the components and all the accessories that are required in order to assemble those components and build the pod again, like all those things we need to plan like early on, because once you reach US, like you can't come back to India, like literally. And like most of our components were, I would say, from different continents. So like we had got this like motor from a different place, battery pack and cells from a different place, and like all those things are from different parts of the globe. So there was no way we could like take a chance for that. So it was like really tough. And coming to the US and like kind of working on representing the Hyperloop pod was an amazing journey. And at the same time we got to meet super cool teams as well, and like everyone was so much heavily invested into this deep tech, and like they were so much aware about the technology and the implications that it can have on the future generation. So that was like having a group of like-minded people to interact with on something that very few people in your own country knew about. I mean, like not everyone in India knew about Hyperloop at the time while we were working on that technology. So it's like finding, like being part of a bigger family when you see all other teams as well working on the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super inspiring. I wish I could have worked on something so cool. Maybe one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not yet commercial, so you've still got a lot of opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. So I guess life after that competition, what has it been like? What have you been currently doing? And yeah, what's Full Circle all about?
Yeah, I mean, like that IIT journey and so this whole SpaceX Hyperloop journey was amazing. Like I just forgot to mention that even while being in LA, I got to go to Silicon Valley as well as like roam around those palaces in Las Vegas as well, at least for 24 hours. So it was not all just like
Right.
it was all worth it in the end. So it was just not like working on like for the 2 years of your life and not having fun around. So it was all a mixed bunch of responses while I was in the US. And to like after that I got in touch with Ananya. So Ananya and I are the founders of Full Circle, and then we started working on something that we would like to spend like 5 to 10 years of our life to start with, and that has to be something that would have a magnificent impact. So while I was working on Hyperloop, so that's like more of a transportation industry that can have like far-reaching impacts, but in a particular sector, like transportation or maybe like freight or things of that kind. But when it comes to mental health, and we saw like we have had our own struggles, and we saw a lot of people within universities and schools also going through same issues, and there was no one tackling mental health or this struggling ecosystem the way we wanted to have, like the way we wanted to treat others as well. So that's where this whole idea of Full Circle came into being, and we thought of building something of sort of a social media community for Gen Zs that are being struggling with similar issues. So that's what we're doing right now with Full Circle, like trying to match people who have gone through similar life experiences and make sure that they help each other out and support each other in their journey along. Yeah.
Right. No, I can personally attest to that. I also kind of moved from India to do my undergrad at CMU. It was super alienating. Now doing entrepreneurship, also super stressful. So I definitely know that I've personally struggled with things like these, and I've seen people. So it's an amazing mission, and Godspeed to you both and the team. But I'm curious to know. So I guess like as pure and as like inspirational the mission is, what's happening on the back end? Like, is this tech enabled? How does matching work? And if you could talk about that a little.
Yeah, sure. So what we have, like, it's an app that we're building right now, and like we have built few of the prototypes and tested out with the selected set of users, but of course, like the iterations keep on coming based on feedback. So the way, I mean, the key part is like trying to match you with someone who has gone through similar experiences. You've got these different forums available, like there are Reddit forums where like people discuss about mental health. There's Quora, and then there are even a lot of Discord servers as well that just do the same. But the issue over there is the person like giving you help or giving you some kind of advice need not necessarily have gone through that same situation themselves. So I mean, you can't trust that person. Like there is a lack of trust and the lack of empathy as well. Like I mean, just say for example, right, you're struggling with an issue, like you're not able to get a good placement, right? And it had like you have been trying for the 3 months like now, and there is a friend of yours or that they got placed on like day zero, like the companies literally approached that person and he got selected. Now if that person is advising you, I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you will be like, hey dude, like you got on day zero, and why are you like, it doesn't matter to me what you advise, and I'm not going to anyway take it.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. And the tech enabled part is like the digital phenotyping technology that we are using at the moment. So it basically anonymizes the bulk data that we'll receive from users, and that will be like partly based on the active data that we collect from their cell phones and the passive data based on their interaction within the community. So this two bunch of data sets combined together help us to kind of match people.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you said this was an app. Is it like available on the Play Store as a beta yet, or is it still invite only?
No, it's invite only at the moment. So we've got this white list of selected users, and
Awesome.
at the same time, what we have is like we have a Discord server that we are running parallelly, just to have like give the early adopters a chance to get acclimated with the kind of environment they'll find on the main app as well. So that's how we're working on.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely. I guess we'll definitely link the Discord server, and if there's like a whitelist invitation or something in the podcast, so that people listening in, if they definitely can get value out of this, and if they choose to join, they can. Yeah, as a way for them to get into the full circle community. So I guess moving away from the actual focus of full circle and talking a little more meta about startup culture versus like being in college, like how different is it like taking classes versus working on a startup? It's both time consuming, there's both different kinds of pressures, but how do they differ?
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, like the life has been the same for me while I was in college, and the life is almost same while I am working on the startup. The reason being, like, as I mentioned earlier, like the funny thing about me is I never worked on something that I studied for. So and I always like work on things that I really enjoy. So let's say, for example, while I was at IIT Madras doing aerospace engineering, most of the time I was focused on working on the Hyperloop technology, like, and that has got nothing to do with aerospace engineering, right? So I mean, it was mostly similar, like kind of juggling with classes. I mean, classes is fine, like you don't have to worry much about it. Like, just make sure the professor is happy, like do assignments on time, and that was like probably on the last days as well. So I mean, it's something similar. So it's like in universities and those classes, you need to do stuff that you don't like. I mean, and at the same time, there are days in startups as well, if you got to do some normal work that you don't want to do. So it's more or less a bunch of mixed things. So it's not like being in a startup is like you can do whatever you want and whenever you want, and so it's really not that. Yeah,
I think people might have a slight misconception there that like once you're an entrepreneur, you can just like do whatever you want, and like every second you're gonna love everything what you're doing. But I think there's a component of like there's some kind of work that has to be done, there's other parts that you love doing, and as a kind of combination to it, you got to keep doing it because you're passionate about the overall mission.
Yeah,
I've definitely felt that too. So I can definitely second that. I guess now, like, to think about college versus startup. I'd also like to hear from you, like, your experience of like corporate versus startup, because I've seen differences in that, but I'm interested to know if like you see a stark difference in work styles or something.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question, and I would say like there has been a significant difference in the way corporates are now approaching the younger generation when they like become an employee. So like I have worked in corporate as well for 2 years, and one thing that I find, like, fortunately for me, the corporate was more inclined towards creating a startup culture. So like even though it was a 9 to 5 job that mostly people hate, for me it was like I was given the opportunity and the platform to like do things that I want to do, and like raise my voice in terms of executives as well of that company. So I mean, I have been very fortunate, I would say, but not everyone gets that same kind of opportunity. But I mean, yeah, for me it was like fun for both the kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, cool. And definitely I think a lot of us listening in are in high school right now and are already super impressed by what you've achieved and what you're working on now. But if I was to roll back the years a little bit to kind of put ourselves back in the shoes of when we were high school students, like what was your high school like? When was the first time you learned how to do the stuff that you're doing now, or learn how to code? Like what were you like in high school?
So I mean, you would not believe, even I myself had never imagined that I'll be there. I mean, I'll be working on the kind of stuff that I've already worked and I'm going to work.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you, like I belong to a typical Indian family where, like, from ninth standard onwards, like I had this dream of getting into IIT. Like that was the whole and sole dream of my life at that point in time. So my entire high school I dedicated in preparing for like JEE. That's like the entrance examination to get into like the top university in India. That's IIT. So I spent my entire high school, and I would say, like, yeah, almost all the time in just preparing for that entrance examination and not knowing what engineering is, or like what Hyperloop or deep tech or any of it is. So I had no idea. At the same time, like I was very shy at that point in time. Like, I mean, even to ask a question in front of a class to a professor was like a no, a big no for me. So I had never done that actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, things change like with time, and like here we are today. But I would say, like, I was more focused, or that just focused on studies and like cracking that entrance examination while being in high school, and nothing else. Like I did not know what mechanical engineering was, or like what engineering is, or are there any other options available as well. Nothing, just like do 12, get like crack this examination and get into a top university and get a good package. So that's it. That was my life in high school.
Gotcha. So going off of that, I'm curious to know, back in high school, would you have done anything, like after you've seen all this stuff, would you have done anything differently? And if so, like off of that, what would your advice be to someone currently in high school?
Yeah, I mean to be honest with you, like at times I had thought, like not now, but like when I was in the struggling phase and trying to prepare for the examination, everything, like maybe I could had a girlfriend at that time and did so and had some fun, and like went out with friends and all those. Like that's what mostly people in high school do. Not everyone, but yeah, that's what people do in high school a lot. So I never did like any of them. So that was one thing that I thought I had missed out on something. But later down the line, like after few years of struggle and like the where I am today, like I don't regret it. Like I don't regret that at all, because like I've got everything now. So like I have an awesome friend that I can speak my mind with anytime, every time. So it's like there is nothing I missed in high school, like that I probably wish I would have done. And so I mean, I don't find that thing right now. So it's like with time I have got what all I wanted to achieve, and what I had thought I missed in high school, I had got it all like after a certain point in time. So it's just like you need to be patient and just keep on doing what you're doing. That's it. Like, yeah.
I love it. It's like at Slingshot, we follow Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality, which is the mentality to keep getting better and better and better every day. And yeah, I mean, you're right. Hustle in the present, and you get what you want if you work hard enough. So I love it. I guess going off of that, right? Like, is like, what other advice would you have for a high schooler venturing into STEM and engineering, and what can they do in high school to get prepared for a future career? Because I think what I'm hearing is that when you were in high school, you did not have an idea of what engineering is, and these days it might be like a little daunting for a high schooler to be like, oh, I'm preparing for this huge exam and I don't even know why I'm doing it. So yeah. If you have any thoughts around that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say one thing is for sure, like try to explore as many things as you can. I mean you've got this like internet and like so many opportunities out there, and it's all virtual. So try to explore as many things as possible. So I mean, I did that like not in high school, but after getting into engineering. So like I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, but I did a bit of every type of engineering. I learned coding, I learned this electronics, mechatronics, and I learned design as well. And like I also learned aerospace engineering while I was in bachelor's. Like did a little bit of research and explored each and every field of engineering, and you have a lot of time. So to be honest, like doing a bachelor's, like it doesn't take 24 hours of your time. Like you will have time to work on all these different technologies you learn. So I mean, just keep your mind open. If you can do that right now, that would be like awesome. And I guess you guys have time right now, so that should not be an issue. And another thing is like, don't restrict yourself to just a particular domain. That, okay, like this domain is going to be the future. So let's say, for example, like, oh, this machine learning and AI is going to be the future. Let's just do that and forget the rest. Like nothing is going to come up. So don't like choose your career in that manner. I mean, you'll always find opportunity in something that like you love to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Those are great words, and definitely, yeah, I think especially in high school and in your bachelor's, I think remaining open to every and each possibility and opportunity is the way to go. But yeah, Ankit, this is like very, very inspirational stuff that you've achieved, stuff that you're currently working on, and the advice you had for all of our high schoolers and others watching as well. Truly appreciate it. And, it's been a super good time. Thank you so much for taking your time and spending this with us. And hopefully we can see you on this podcast again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it was nice chatting with you. Awesome. Really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you take care. We'll catch you later. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.
All right. So I think that was so cool.